Welcome to the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller. Brought to you by Growth Experts. You are in store for a chat about funding, marketing, startups, and all things growth.
All right. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Funded Now What podcast. I'm super excited today because I've got Tony Small, the founder and CEO of HeyLibby, which is an AI startup specifically for gyms, spas, tanning salons, and other similar businesses. They just raised $4.5 million, and I got him on the podcast, and we're going to see what it's all about. Tony, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, happy to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. It's a hot time for AI startups to raise funding. So I think that definitely opens the door. But I really reached out to you specifically because I love this niche. Most people go on vacation and check out museums. I go to gyms all over the world and definitely all over the country. And they all suck at customer support, responding. Sometimes I'll be gone from the place I'm at by the time I get a response from them, yeah, come in. We do day passes. I'm like, that was 2 weeks ago. And so I'm super stoked when I saw that HeyLibby exists. But for everybody listening, tell people what HeyLibby is and what do you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, we view HeyLibby as really your AI employee at a gym or spa or wellness or fitness center. And it'll answer the phone for you. It'll answer emails, answer chats. It'll place outbound calls. It's your CRM. So it kind of does everything for you, really to improve that customer experience, both inside the gym and outside. Because if you're inside the gym, the last thing you want when you're a customer and you walk up to the front desk is the person to sort of be stuck on the phone and not be able to help you. So we really view ourselves as an employee that really takes the load off everywhere, but also just really helps the customer experience.
Amazing. I have so many questions come out of that for me. I think the first thing I want to know is, it's really exciting that it also does outbound. As a marketer, you very rarely see AI companies that do both of those things. What feature is leading the way for you with customers? Is it more like we need help with the outbound, or is it we're inundated with inbound and we need help with the calls and the things like that?
It's really both. But on outbound, there's definitely a lot of interest in that. A lot of times what gyms do, or, just focusing on gyms for a moment, is they rely too much on employees to place outbound calls to remind customers of A, B, and C. When the challenge is these employees have just so many other jobs they're doing throughout the physical location. So it's just really hard for them to find time to call customers, remind them of something, update their account, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I think my next big question there is where are we at traction wise with these kinds of businesses? I know you guys raised some money. Did you already have really great case studies with clients, or is it really early stages?
Yeah, we have hundreds of customers. They're really happy. We get really positive feedback and referrals on a daily basis. And a lot of it is just, there's just a really strong need for this kind of service, because if you think about it from a gym perspective, one of our customers, they own 50 locations across the greater Seattle area. Wow. And one of their motivations for using us was that, the owner of these 50 locations would oftentimes go to their location to check in on things. And it was hard for even the owner to engage with the front desk because they were always on the phone. But so really just by alleviating even just that one burden of just answering the phone for them, that really pays for itself easily. And then you have just the additional features of just, we include the chatbot, we can reply to emails, we can do follow-ups, stuff like that. So it's really resonating, and just we're really excited about the traction that we're seeing.
Amazing. And I did stalk you a little bit before this. It wasn't your first focus. You found gyms as a super product market fit when you were kind of testing a lot of things. Can you walk through that? Is that resilience as a founder, I think, is really a big thing that separates early failures to companies that finally make it. You've got to keep pivoting until you find what you're saying right now, customers that are blown away and writing to you every day that they love it.
Yeah, we followed an interesting path. So we launched our solution about 9 months ago, and it was really horizontal. It wasn't geared towards any specific industry or niche. And, we just really wanted to make the solution available, talk to customers, get them to use it, and just see what the results were and what the feedback was. And then after that period of about a few months, we determined that, based on the feedback we're seeing, it really resonates specifically with this customer base, gyms, fitness centers, wellness centers, rec centers. And that really allowed us to do two things. It allowed us to focus our marketing on that area, but then also really, probably more importantly, focus the product on that area. So as we evolve and prioritize our features, we're really prioritizing things that are specifically of interest to these types of customers.
Love it. I think someone much older and richer than I once said the niches are where the niches have the riches or something like that. But
yeah, no,
it's
rhymes.
true.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, with early stage startups, oftentimes we try to help everyone, and when you market to everyone, you market to no one, and when you sell to everyone, you sell to no one. But that's really cool that maybe you went out in the beginning just like, okay, let's see who this really resonates with. And then when you get that data, you're like, all right, we're going down this path. And I can see maybe expanding down the line. There's other businesses that are inundated with front desk phone calls. I mean, my first job ever a long, long time ago was a front desk operator at my university of the call center for the university. And it was insane. And I could imagine that job still exists in some way, shape, or form. But, there's a lot of businesses with a front desk that, even like you said, just taking the calls off of and managing that. For that owner with the 50 locations, is there like an analytics aspect to the platform as well? Like I would imagine they never had any visibility knowing which location is busier than the other, and having that data is really valuable as well.
Yeah, it's funny. It's such a timely question because we're actually meeting with the owner this afternoon to actually go over the analytics. And the cool thing is so we have for their 50 stores, we have thousands of conversations that we handle. And we're able to actually apply AI to all of the conversations very easily. So, whereas before it would have probably taken, hiring a very expensive consultant many months and millions of dollars to do this.
Yeah.
We were able to perform this analysis in like an hour. And we applied, for instance, all the conversations are in a database. We apply an LLM prompt to each conversation, put them into different categories. Then we can do analysis on them. And we have I can't share them with you because they're all
that's okay.
But it's we actually have these amazing charts that show, for example, what are the topics by store? What kind of calls are escalated by topic? What are stores that are better at automating, doing complete automation versus not? And there's just a lot of really useful analysis that we can provide. And the cool thing about, especially an owner that has 50 stores, is that it allows us to sort of identify, okay, these stores, there's something about these stores or their customer or the way these stores are handling the service that is actually making it more efficient. And they can the other stores can learn from that and improve as well.
Wow. I hope you're charging extra for that because like you said, no, not even a joke. Like a lot of companies fail to realize what should be like an enterprise solution at a 50 store level. And you're meeting with that owner, obviously at the early stage, that's amazing that you can do that because you want to meet your best customers and you get to know them and create incredible experiences. That's literally why I tell every business owner, work with early stage startups. We'll break our back for you more than anyone else. But you like the analytics piece. And like you said, the previous option there was meet with McKinsey and spend $1 million and they'll deep dive everything in your business. Just because it only takes an hour now doesn't mean it should just be free and included. I mean, not going to tell you what to do because you're obviously already really successful, but I do know from 20 years working with early stage startups, we tend to give away a lot of shit for free.
Yeah, our customers are getting really good deals from us. It's also just from a service standpoint. I heard this yesterday from someone we were selling to, and we have a white label solution. So if you're targeting, you may be targeting auto shops or home services, and we can create a version of our product with your brand, with your logo, and that you can go sell to home services. And what this customer told us is that they were just amazed at how responsive we are and how helpful we are. And we respond to emails in sometimes 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, or we're on the call immediately. And they said other alternatives they were looking at were, you sort of wait a few business days to hear from them, and then it was kind of a rote response or a standard response. And, maybe when we're a company that's like several hundred employees or 1,000 employees, we may hopefully not like fall into that trap. But for now, we're just really over indexing on providing an amazing experience.
What an easy way, not easy, but what a guaranteed way to blow away any competition. I love that. And I also love that you said win. We're 1,000 employees. I literally
Yeah.
will correct someone in a meeting. They're like, well, if we raise this next round, I'm like, win, say win. The universe is listening. And so that's awesome. All around, that's really great. And I love nothing more than hearing when people hit like that amazing product market fit. And even though it's confidential, someday when it's not confidential, I want to see those reports. Let's talk about the fundraising round. $4.5 million seed round. I think it's definitely a large round, especially these times. Like, investments are going down and people are getting tighter and more worried with blah 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 keywords I'm not going to throw into this. But tell me about, your experience before. Was this your first time raising a round? What did you learn? Give us some valuable golden nuggets here, Tony.
Yeah. So this company is the first time I've founded a company, and it was a CEO of a company. So all this is relatively new for me. We did a pre-seed round about a year and a half ago. And that was significantly easier because just the bar is a lot lower.
Right.
For a seed round, and it's ironic because the seed still implies it's very young, which it is. There's just a lot of effort and a lot of diligence that you have to go through.
Right.
I mean, this is very common, but we got told no dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And it's a grueling experience. It's hard. And, there were times where you're just kind of like, should we give up? Is this it? It's like, is this not going to work? And maybe we follow a path and we can figure out a path where we don't raise funds and we just have to kind of tighten our belts and figure out some other path. We've had those discussions, but fortunately we found at the end, like some great partners in Agli Ventures and Vertical Venture partners. And it was, it ended up being a great experience. The one thing I would say just as a lesson learned is that even though it was grueling, it was painful, we actually improved the company and product significantly through the process because you actually benefit a lot from the learnings from these VCs because what you see is that every VC you're pitching to has been pitched to by probably dozens of very similar companies. And so the feedback they're giving you, and you really need to ask for that feedback, and oftentimes they'll give it, sometimes they'll be a little reluctant, but really seek it, is you're just getting a lot of free research as to what is actually going on in the marketplace. And you're somewhat limited by time of like going and researching like 1,000 AI companies. But everyone you talk to has talked to like 100 and has seen their pitches. And so when they say no, or they say maybe, they'll have a lot of really great feedback as to like how you compare, how you don't compare, what the future is bringing, what product evolution might make sense. And it forces you to really kind of hone in your future and what you're going to actually focus on to be successful. So it was painful. It was not something I recommend to someone who doesn't have very thick skin. But at the end of the day, it was very a useful and helpful process.
That's amazing. I mean, every founder that comes on this show, except for one person was like, yeah, I got my check in the first call I did. Everyone else is like, it's 100 no's and door slams and the resilience is really key. And I have had advice where, you learn a lot of stuff, but that's really unique about the research aspect of it. They're telling you what the other people who are similar to you, at least like with the pitch and AI, are saying that you're not. And so you can kind of curate your next pitch. And I think that's a great metaphor for life. I mean, whether you're job searching, doing online dating, anything, everything is a funnel. And, you can only fail so many times if you keep iterating and learning more on each time. And I think that's a really big thing in San Francisco. We, as opposed to, I've worked in many different startup cities that are even many outside of America, that we don't have the same ethos towards failure. And, like you said, it's beautiful to hear you, someone who has successfully raised, say there were times when we thought we were going to give up because everybody just focuses on the wins. Nobody thinks about the fact that you have to go through so many potential no's and punches in the face and demoralizing. God, that person's really smart, and they said that this isn't a good thing. Am I wrong? And you just, what is the thing that pushes you through? Is it your co-founder relationship? Is it like your previous things that you did before this role? Like, what is the thing you think that separates you from someone that would give up in those moments?
I mean, some of it is like, there's sort of like you heard the term like burn the boat, or burn the bridge. Like, there's not like a backup. It's like, we just have to make this successful. Having a really great co-founder, which I do, and Anna Rodriguez, it really helps, because she's been like, sometimes she's down and I support her, and sometimes I'm down and she supports me. So that's like super helpful to have, just like a sounding board for like, is this right? What are we doing wrong, etc. But it's like, the challenge is like, when you think about like, someone will typically get 100 no's. It's not even just the no's. It's like, it's kind of just like, it impacts you. It's hard, it sucks. It's just kind of like it's a bad feeling. And so it's like, you have to like find ways to kind of like break through that. And it comes through like, sort of like just being dedicated to the customers and being dedicated to the product mission, and sort of seeing like what you're building actually having a positive impact. So that really helps offset it. But it's like, and then when you win, eventually, when we got that fundraising, and we got like investors to just be really excited by us, it made it all the more rewarding to sort of have gone through that experience. But it's painful. So just, I think if someone is going into that process, you'd have to just go in eyes wide open, that more likely than not, you will get told no, like you said, 100 times, before you get told yes. And you just have to just accept that, be okay with it, but then also plan to improve your pitch dramatically. Because the other thing I would say is that if you compare our pitch for like our first presentation to our last one, to the ones who actually gave us money, it was dramatically different, dramatically better. So, you just have to continually evolve and improve the pitch. And eventually that just increases your success rate.
Absolutely. Two really big takeaways from that. That's gold. One, I think being motivated by the mission and who you're helping and how you're helping people has got to be like the North Star for every founder. I mean, I've been doing this a really long time, and people that are, we're going to make so much money from the very beginning, that's the focus. You're not putting in 18 hours a day and 100 no's and door slams telling you you're dumb. You're going to go back to a full-time salaried W-2 position because you feel like you didn't do it. But when you're really, like you said, burn the boats, I have no other way out of this but continuing to just get no's and iterate until we get a yes, you're never going to give up. When there's this huge problem that you need to solve, and we can solve it better than anyone else, and we're helping people, even though they're rich people, like the person with 50 locations, it's still a person and they still have a terrible problem that, and at the end of the day, you're actually helping those employees too, that are overwhelmed, overworked, not able to do what they love in their job because they're handling 10 phones. And so that's the person you're really trying to help make their job easy. And so I think that's amazing. And like the desire to just continue is definitely like I don't know, what do your parents do for a living?
Well, they're both retired now. My dad was a lawyer, and my mom was a speech therapist. But I way back when I was like considering going to law school. I'm glad I didn't, but I have a lot of respect for lawyers because their job is really hard. But yeah, that's my background.
Well, that's amazing. But there's always some example of two hardworking people there, usually, whether even if it's like stay at home or whatever, you have great examples. Something is there to instill in you that ability to get punched in the face and get through all those no's. But I think I also went into pre-law and dropped out of that after 6 months and went into business after. And I'm really glad now because, AI, and it's a difficult time to be a lawyer, I think. A lot of people were worried. A couple of years ago when ChatGPT came out, I got all these messages. Andrew, aren't you worried it's going to make marketers obsolete? I was absolutely not. But if I was a lawyer now, I mean, because even in our own company, what we would have paid 10 billable hours for now, we do 9 of it in ChatGPT, and then we just hire a lawyer for 1 hour to review it. So your mom got out at a good time.
AI is moving so fast. It's like, it's hard. I have kids that are in college or about to go to college, and it's like, it's hard to even give them career advice because I'm like, what is the job market going to look like in 4 years? I really don't know.
You have kids in college?
Yeah.
What? Oh man, I drastically age you as much lower in this. If you're just listening, this dude has a full head of hair with no gray as a startup founder. And I was thinking you were like 34 or something, like
No,
compliments.
I'm on the old. Well, like apparently like the average age of founders is actually in the 40s. in their
That is
40s,
true.
especially older. And, you hear stories of, the early 20-year-old that has raised $100 million, but that's pretty rare.
It is.
But yeah, I am a little bit on the older side, so I have sort of that experience.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, what did you do? You mentioned that this was the first time being CEO. What did you do before this?
Yeah, so I spent some years. I've done like a lot of the Seattle rounds. So I've spent some years at Microsoft. I spent 6 years at
Nice.
Amazon when it was a much smaller company, which was a really fun
Nice.
experience. I spent
Nice.
8 years at Zillow, where I was the SVP in charge of the Premier Agent program, which was like serving
Cool.
80,000 small businesses. So I had like, and I was a CXO of a few different startups too. So I have sort
Mhm.
of that mix of different experience.
Got it. No, that adds to, I think, the confidence that an investor has, like you said, as opposed to a 24-year-old that gets right out of school and is like, I'm going to start this AI thing. But love that and appreciate you being a grandpa like me in AI. I'm a marketing advisor to several AI companies, and I agree with you though. Like the more seasoned executives are the ones that are going to see through the bubble bursting at some point, because there is a lot of noise making AI companies. I was first head of marketing of an AI company in 2014 in San Francisco, and we did
Oh,
exit it.
wow.
We did exit that company in 2016, but we really didn't have a product. It was
Yeah.
really just,
Yeah.
and we were kind of lying back then. I can say it because it's long gone. But that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for all that advice. Let's talk through, you've got all these amazing customers. I know some of them are local to you, which is also a real hack in the beginning. If you're serving small businesses that you can walk into and meet, you'll learn a lot more. But now I think, it's time you want to grow nationwide. Are you trying to acquire customers internationally? Walk me through who the target is now.
Yeah, so we're focused right now on US and Canada. And that's our technology works really well in US and Canada.
Hmm.
We're actually evaluating some opportunities right now in Western Europe, specifically the UK. One customer is actually in the UK invited us into, what they call like a Dragon's Den experience, where we get to sort
Nice.
of pitch to their CEO with like two other AI companies that do something similar. So we're going to participate in that. So I'm
Why
gonna have to
not?
wake up one morning at like 2 a.m. to kind of participate in a
Or
Dragon's
stay up.
Den. But it's
Yeah.
like, when you're a startup, you sort of like you go where the opportunity is. From a marketing standpoint, we're probably going to focus in, for the foreseeable future in the US and Canada.
Fair.
But the reality is, as a startup, if someone has money and they sort of need the product you already have, if they're in a
And the
different
problem.
country, yeah, if
Yeah,
we're
they
gonna
have the
in a different
problem.
country, we're still gonna talk to them.
Yeah, I would imagine the only thing that wouldn't work is some of the outbound calling stuff, because there's different like GDPR things and things. But
Yeah, we get a fair amount of requests from like, from Africa, from Eastern Europe, from Asia, and there's a lot more. Every country has very different restrictions with regard to calling, with
mhm.
regard to texting. So that's the one limitation we really face.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, well, let's talk through. I can think of 10 unique free growth hacking ways to acquire customers, but I want to hear from your mouth first. Like, what are you guys doing to acquire customers? Is it all inbound, like from the PR that you got through the round? Like, how much are you focusing on growth in the US, and like, what are you doing to get new customers?
Yeah, I mean, so we're focused on a few areas. So first of all, we need to hire people. So we're making an effort to hire some salespeople, some marketing people, and we're making some good progress there. In terms of tactics, it's interesting because there's a lot of focus. A lot of the competitors in this space invest in Facebook, and we're trying to do that too, and we're seeing some positive results. But the challenge is like, once you see positive results, then like all the companies start gravitating towards that, and then it suddenly becomes more expensive.
Hmm.
And so you have to find. I sort of categorize it into sort of two different buckets. One is standard marketing, so like Facebook and Google, and maybe even like ones that are a little less common, like Reddit and stuff like that, where you're just like paying for views and paying for clicks and paying for appointments.
Hmm.
And then the other category is just more experimental stuff. Like for instance, us actually using our product to do like outbound calling campaigns, us actually doing analysis of companies based on how their calls currently work. Like, so for example, for our 50 store customer, one of the reasons why they chose us is we actually did an analysis where Anna and I, my co-founder and I, we called like 40 of their stores and actually recorded the results and basically gave them an analysis and said, hey, look, we called 40 times. 30 times it went to voicemail, 10 times they answered and were super great and helpful. But it's like, what if all 40 times they were answered? What would that be like? So that just gives an example of like
Wow.
some of the creative things we're thinking about, not only to get attention, but also to kind of like help drive a close. So
Got it.
it's standard stuff and experimental stuff that we have to really
Love it.
figure out to win.
Okay. Well, I'm about to go crazy. I think there's a lot of value here for you. So what you were talking about in the beginning is advertising, not marketing. That's the first thing I want to say. So there's a lot of marketing that can be done for free that does not need a paid budget. With such a specific target, I do not like paid advertising. Like it's, I have a client that wants to run ads right now to college professors for something. And I'm trying to explain to them, you're going to show to 99 out of 100 people that are not college professors, even if you are targeting them anywhere else besides LinkedIn, which they're not really using it as much, not their preferred platform. So with such a specific audience, I don't like paid advertising as much. And there's other things we can do. So that's the first thing to say. I do like the experimental thing you were saying, but you and Anna obviously can't scale that up. And so that's what you were saying you want to hire someone for. And so you really want to separate your large targets from your small targets. The small targets, like your single gym owners, they should be fully self-service. Maybe you have a 30-minute meeting with a salesperson with them, but if it's like free to sign up and it looks like it is on the site, like they can try it, then that should be, to really scale, they ought to be able to just serve themselves. And if they have any need, then there's customer support, which sounds like you guys are amazing at. And then your really big customers, those 50 plus store ones, that salesperson should be fully focused on those. Sometimes we get like a junior person in to handle all the inbound meeting with them, all the small and medium. And then one person is your enterprise sales expert. That's like a salary plus high commission. And they're just the hunter that's going to go out and put together 10 of those reports per week, get 10 of those customers on the phone per week. The sales cycle takes like a month because you have to go drag and den pitch to those kind of opportunities. But if you get 5 of those big new clients closed even a quarter or something, that person's making a ton of money and your company's making a lot. And then it just snowballs from there because the industry all knows about it and people start coming to you. So I think separating those, just focusing on those reports for those big opportunities. But then also if you have, I mean, again, like I said, I'm going to jump from a couple things, but if you have that incredible data, like the average 20 location gym is only answering 10% or 20% of their inbound calls, as opposed to using your software becomes 99%, because maybe some people, there's 1% of people, especially boomers, that are like, it's AI, fuck this, and then hangs up, like it's only 1%, but I've seen it with my own eyes. My dad is like that. It's like, I want to talk to a human, hang up, I'm going to go patronize another. It's only 1% though, for anyone listening, but and that's a lot better than 80% not getting through to the person. I had a client actually in the similar space 6 or 7 years ago. Shout out to Numa AI if they're still around. They did similar stuff to Libby, but just for car dealerships. And it took like years to find that niche. They tried to do it for everyone also. And that was what I saw was successful for them. Like the humans in the company don't have the time to work directly with every single one location person. So we just give them kind of any support they need, but like a click to sign up, try it on your own. And here's a knowledge base to walk you through how it doesn't work. And then if in the sign up process, they select over 5 locations, then it gets auto emailed to that sales lead. And then that person follows up with them. Or does the outbound. So that's that. With those marketing ideas that I was talking about, I think the lowest hanging fruit, when you have a geo-local small business like this, scraping Google Maps and building a huge list of gyms. Have you already done that? Please say yes.
Yeah. So it's like we've done that. So we have some of those lists, and there's ways to get, for example, a list of customers who use certain CRMs, which would indicate they're in specific niches. So we have the list. Now we just need to find time or use the right AI tools to go reach out to them in mass.
Right.
So yeah.
Yes. And in that first month of testing that, you want to test how you're reaching out. So cold calling, sending a flyer. I mean, there's direct mail companies like Posty, and I can't think of other one. Like with these, you'd be surprised how it's only like one step from that person that gets it to the owner. Like, especially if the message resonates with that front desk person who's probably going to get the mail and be like, oh my God, this would help my job so much. I'm going to go
Yeah.
tell my boss. Like, their job is to look good to their boss. So this is going to look good for them if they bring it. And that's the kind of messaging that you want to, if you send that. Another digital way to reach out that is scalable, that's not from Google Maps scraping. I ran a Yelp copy in a different country once a long time ago that was focused on small businesses, obviously. Like, if you think about Yelp as like restaurants, gyms, whatever. And we found through everything, the cold walk-in to the business gets the owner's contact information like 90% of the time. They're not usually there, but you will get it. And we found that, you all right?
Yeah. I
We
just hit
found
that.
he was so blown away by this advice. He just fucking knocked something off the table. No. So I actually hired high school kids to do the cold walk-ins at like $15 an hour plus a commission for every contact info they got. And
Oh,
that's
wow.
really scalable because you can post a Craigslist gig ad or something on a Facebook group in every major city you want. And then like you do one call, or the salesperson does one call with a group of like 10 of these interns in different cities, and they get riled up, and you give them a couple videos and a t-shirt, and they just go walk into places and they get, a $50 bonus for every contact info of a spa they get.
Yeah.
It sounds so ridiculous, but the face-to-face with these kinds of old school, and let's be real, these are old school businesses. I mean, like, they're not like
Yeah.
the most AI and tech savvy. So the cold walk-in worked really well. I know it sounds crazy, but at least to the next level. You want to get like, you said you have hundreds of customers. To get to a couple thousand, you can definitely do that. Like, one kid can get 50, do 50 walk-ins in a weekend in their city, and, get you 50 contact info that you would otherwise not get. Otherwise.
The other cool thing we're doing, like, that I think that will help us do that kind of thing at scale, is our white label product, because I talked to like several kind of like independent entrepreneurs who just have really strong connections and strong relationships with hundreds of small businesses already. And, they're basically kind of like Pied Pipers of
Yeah.
a lot of small businesses, like all the auto shops in like a specific, city.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we enable them with our solution, and they already have those relationships and they already trust them. So they can basically make our solution available to them really easily, without us. And they're the ones actually sort of doing the walk-ins and doing the talking to the customer. So that's we think that's going to be a really big component of our
Absolutely.
scalability.
Yeah, I want to talk to you offline about that. I'm interested in being a white label partner of yours. My family business is in the jewelry industry, and it's like even more old school than gyms could ever
Yeah.
be. And I have
Yeah.
begged my father to partner with me building SaaS solutions for the jewelry industry, because he's like 50 years in the industry, like wildly connected, like literally knows thousands of owners of stores.
Yeah.
And like there's one product that's not really that great of AI in the space called Podium. I think they're at $1 billion valuation, podium.com. That
Yeah.
is one of their niches that's taken off, is the jewelry industry. But that doesn't mean that a white label solution between the two of us couldn't do like, 10 mil on the side or something. So
Yeah, that's great. And you can actually take our solution and basically create like a jewelry specific
that's exactly what
persona,
I'm saying.
and
yeah. That's
just go to
exactly what
market
I'm
with
saying.
it. And it's like, there's, some niches might be too small for like a VC to kind of invest like millions of
Yeah.
dollars into, but it's like,
But we'll do it on our own.
like, someone could just do it on their own and just make a ton of money.
Yeah.
So I think there's
I probably shouldn't have said this on a recording, but we'll talk offline about that. I did a lot of the research on that already. There's 14,000 jewelry stores in America. There's one company in the last 10 years. And there's still like a crazy legacy POS system called The Edge that like 9,000 stores use. It's a 30-year-old software. It's insane. It's an insane space. So I agree with you that there's many of those little niche spaces, and the white label is a beautiful thing. And we'll talk about that. But what I was going to say was there are some growth hacky tools to automate social media outreach. And believe it or not, social media DMing is one of the best ways to get to the owner quickly for a gym, because the person answering it in 50% of the scenarios is the owner. The other 50% is a marketing person, especially with the 50 location opportunities. But let's say most of the small ones, the owner's still doing the social media themselves. So you're going to get right to that person right away. There's some firewall type situations now where you're going to spam folders and things like that with Instagram, but Facebook, DMing people through whatever their favorite social media is, like it still gets there sometimes. You can
Yeah.
also do it as a customer, message through the customer, like, they're always going to respond if you're messaging that way. So like, message us on Facebook or whatever. So obviously not super scalable if you're doing it manually, but I would recommend, if you haven't already, spending, an hour this weekend going, I'm going to blast out some text myself to just every
Yeah,
gym
I'll
that
do
comes
that.
up. Like, have you ever done that?
No, yeah, I have. It's like
Okay.
it's challenging, because
It's
it's a
challenging.
lot of work, and it's like, you'll get a few bites, but it's just like the work to bite ratio might be kind of low, but then you do
Okay.
get bites that are really valuable. So it's like
Right.
I need to kind of force myself to do that more than I am
No, no, no.
now.
If you've already tested it and you know that it's valuable, what you want to do, Tony, is look back at the messages so there's, just like with the fundraising, you want to iterate on the messaging a lot. Like, hey, our AI software can answer your phones for you. Are you interested? Might not work as well as, we're already working with these gyms, and adding that in and saying that, oh shit, they're already working with these gyms, and so you want to iterate on the messaging when you're doing it manually, so that you only have to do that for a limited amount of time, and then you figure out what works, and then we want to automate it. And there's many tools, but I like Phantom Buster, Phantom Buster.com. You can literally automate DMs on every social media platform. You can operate well below the limits to where you'd get banned or shadow banned or anything like that. And it'll still do it for you. And then you can make multiple new profiles. So you can
Oh, that's
make,
cool.
let make Hey Libby Washington or Hey Libby Georgia,
Yeah, yeah.
account, and then it's DMing, and if it ever gets banned, you don't really care about it that much. Or Hey Libby, there's multiple ones that are just used for outreach. And if the messaging is really strong in that, I think it really will work, because the other 50% that aren't the owner, it's a social media person who dreams of bringing value to those weekly marketing meetings, or when the owner comes in, oh, I've got something interesting. Like, that's their mindset, is they're looking for cool things that will help the company. So you just want to massage that and get in the door with that. And so I think automating social media outreach will be really good for you.
Yeah, and
But
that's
like you
like an
said,
example of just like some of the experimentation that we need to do rapidly, and just like, and
yeah,
I love the regional approach. And yeah, no, that's a great idea.
yeah. Um, I'm trying to think of other things. Like I said, I'm really close to the gym space. I think mentioned to you before we started recording, an investor in Growth Experts is a multiple location gym owner with Anytime Fitness, and she's in a different country. So when you're ready to go to Asia, I will connect you. But I turned down the opportunity to invest in that business myself, but I am close to it from as an end user, and I agree that that's a huge problem. And so super excited to see you like save the world on this, because the easier it is for people, just like, not bullshitting here. Like at the end of the day, you're actually helping the end customer get into the gym and get what they need to work out more. And if it's an easier, less annoying process to go to the gym and get into the gym, then we're going to be a healthier, leaner, less obese society. So you're doing the Lord's work. And, you got to think of it like that too. I mean, you're on a niche that we desperately need to have an easier, more, stress-free process as customers there, because if it's really annoying to go to the gym, then you don't go, and then the gym charges you anyway, and then you lose and they win.
Yeah,
So
and it's actually, there is a concern, AI will sort of like eat up a bunch of jobs, et cetera. But it's like, the main feedback that we get from customers in terms of like what they're doing this for is it's not really about reducing employee hours or anything like that. It's just making the experience better for customers. And also employees, like, for instance, it's oftentimes like, in a yoga studio, it's like the yoga instructor who's also like answering the phone and doing a bunch of virtual tasks. And the thing they don't like to do is that virtual stuff, like answering the phone, handling customer support, stuff like that. So we're providing usually a much better experience for them as well.
absolutely. No, I do think that gyms with 10 people behind the front desk is ridiculous. And so
Yeah.
it's okay to hire a little bit less there and then spend more money on nicer equipment and spend money in other areas. As a customer, I'd rather deal with less humans. I don't even talk. I don't listen to music. I don't talk to anyone in the gym. I'm locked in. I don't want to be there. So I get in and get out. And I don't need someone coming by and like giving me advice. Like I'm a long-term Equinox customer, and they don't bother you. And I love that about Equinox, as opposed to many other gyms. You go and they're like, hey, can I give you some little bit of advice there? I'm like, you need to hire less people at this gym. But no, that's awesome. And I see a trend in San Francisco. We have a gym chain that's starting up that has no staff in it at all, and it's just you as a customer, you just have a ped and you get in. And with that, and so I think like having your solution and a daily cleaner is the only staff that needs to go in there. It's amazing. I could see AI being the only employee in every aspect of the gym. Like an AI messages me and tells me what workout I need to do at the gym, and then it tells me what I need to eat after. Like we're going into a really cool space. And again, the more people embrace that AI, the better it will be for them in the long run. Not everybody has the discipline. Not everybody has the ability to answer 10 phone calls. And we just need to acknowledge that there's a lot of things AI can do better than us. And I think what HeyLibby is doing is an example of that.
Yeah, no, thanks. I totally agree.
Awesome. Tony, it's been a pleasure. Super valuable advice. Thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. It was really fun. Love the podcast, and glad I could be part of it.
Awesome. It's HeyLibby.ai for anybody that's interested. If you know someone that has a gym, I'm sure Tony would love to give you a referral fee if you DM them. Do you guys have a program like that?
Yeah, we do have a referral fee. We pay 20% for the first year of all the revenue, so it's pretty lucrative. And again, we also have a white label program. So if you want to start a business in AI, come talk to me. We can get you set up.
Is the white label 50-50 or what's the specifics on that?
Yeah, so it's free to sign up, free to set up, and you basically can charge your customers whatever you want. And generally what happens is that, we're a really good price. And so, customers can often charge, 2 to 3x what we're charging.
Amazing.
And then provide additional value add services on top of it.
Super cool. Awesome. Okay, this time I'm serious. Thanks so much for being here, Tony. We're done. Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
That has been another episode of the Funded Now What podcast with your host, Andrew Lee Miller, brought to you by Growth Experts. If you liked the episode, please subscribe. And if you really liked it, please share with other founders and entrepreneurs. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.